A friend's jack stand collapsed while he was under his truck. Harbor Freight. He survived. Barely. That's when I started asking questions. Not online, not Reddit. I went to the employees, the people who process returns, handle warranty claims, see which tools come back broken, and which ones come back bloody. 15 items they warned me never to buy. Not opinions, warnings from people who see the failures firsthand. Today, I'm exposing them all. What breaks? What burned? What can kill you? Stick around. Number 1 is what multiple employees called the worst thing we sell. Let's break this down. Item number 1, jack stand. This isn't debatable. It's not a matter of preference. Multiple Harbor Freight jack stand models were recalled because they could collapse while you're underneath your vehicle. The recalled models, Pittsburgh Automotive 3-ton and 6-ton jack stand, over 1.7 million units. The PAL, the critical locking mechanism that holds the stand at height, could disengage without warning, causing sudden, catastrophic collapse. 3 employees mentioned jack stands immediately and unprompted when I asked what they'd never buy. One who'd been there 7 years. Jack stands hold up your car while you're underneath. This is not where you save $15. I don't care if they fixed the design. I don't care if the new ones are better. I will never trust a Harbor Freight jack stand. Buy Torin, buy Hein-Werner. Your life is worth more than the difference. A professional mechanic was blunter. I won't use Harbor Freight jack stands if they're free. When I'm under a car, the thing holding that car up needs to be something I'd bet my life on, because I am betting my life on it. Harbor Freight issued replacements. They implemented new safety protocols, but trust, once broken this way, doesn't come back. Dave still has trouble breathing when he lies flat. Don't buy any Harbor Freight jack stand, period. Item number 2, drill bit, below titanium coated. An employee named Marcus did something memorable during my visit. He grabbed a basic Harbor Freight drill bit and a DeWalt bit off the shelf. Both went into a drill press. Both drilled into pine. The Harbor Freight bit dulled after 15 holes. The cutting edges were visibly rounded and burnt. The DeWalt was still clean and sharp after 100. For metal, it's dramatically worse. The cheap bits overheat instantly, lose their edge, and catch dangerously when they bind. Marcus showed me a bit that had turned blue from oxidation after drilling just 3 holes in mild steel. Blue means the steel's temper is destroyed. The bit is finished as a cutting tool. I ran my own extended test, a $7.99 Harbor Freight set versus a $19.99 DeWalt set. 50 holes and 2x4 lumber each. By hole 20, the Harbor Freight bits were noticeably dull. By hole 40, they were tearing rather than cutting. Rough, splintered holes requiring dangerous amounts of pressure to push through. The kind of pressure where a bit catches and the drill kicks back. The DeWalt bits were still cutting cleanly through hole 50 and showed minimal wear. The metallurgy is the fundamental problem. Cheap bits use soft carbon steel that can't hold an edge under friction and heat. The moment the bit gets hot, which happens immediately in metal and quickly in hardwood, the edge rolls over and the bit becomes a friction device rather than a cutting tool. Professional bits use high-speed steel or cobalt alloys engineered to maintain hardness at temperatures that would destroy cheap steel. An employee who'd been fielding drill bit complaints for 5 years. People buy the $5.99 set because it seems like a deal. It lasts one project, sometimes half a project. They come back furious. Our Drillmaster and Warrior bits are basically disposable tools. The titanium-coated Bauer bits are the minimum acceptable quality. Everything below that is throwing money away. You'll spend more replacing them than buying decent bits once. The cost per hole math tells the real story. Harbor Freight, $7.99 for maybe 100 usable holes across the set. DeWalt, $19.99 for 500 plus. The expensive bits are actually cheaper per use. Item number 3, moving blanket. They cost $5.99 to $7.99. Cheaper than U-Haul or Home Depot. Seems like the obvious choice when you're already stressed about moving day and trying to keep costs down. Except they disintegrate on first use. The stitching fails immediately. The fabric is so thin that furniture edges and corners poke through it like it isn't there. The padding, such as it is, compresses to nothing the moment weight presses against it. A former employee who worked the returns counter described the pattern. Moving blankets came back constantly. Ripped seam, holes, complete structural failure after a single use. But here's the thing. By the time people realize they're garbage, the move is done. Their furniture already has scratches and dings that the blankets were supposed to prevent. Most don't bother returning them. They just throw them away and accept the damage. One customer brought back a set with photos of the scratches on his dining table. The blankets had torn during the move, exposing the table surface directly to the truck bed. A $5.99 savings resulted in a $200 furniture refinishing job. Spend $12 to $15 on decent blankets from Home Depot or U-Haul. They'll survive multiple moves and actually protect your belongings. Item number 4, tarps, below the professional series. A groundskeeper named Ray, who formerly worked at Harbor Freight, bought their $6.99 99-cent tarp to cover his riding mower for the winter. First windstorm in November, shredded. The grommets ripped out of the fabric. The material tore along every seam. By December, the tarp was in 3 pieces, and his mower was exposed to the element. Employees confirmed this is universal for the cheap tier. Anything under $15 in Harbor Freight's tarp section is designed to last one use in calm conditions. The grommets aren't reinforced. They're punched through thin fabric and rely entirely on the material's strength, which is minimal. The seams aren't sealed. The material itself has the structural integrity of a heavy garbage bag. One employee's rule: if you need a tarp for one afternoon to catch paint drips, the cheap one is fine. If you need it to protect anything outdoors through weather, equipment, lumber, a boat, a leaking roof section, you need the professional series at $25 plus. Or honestly, just buy a tarp from a hardware store that specializes in outdoor equipment. Item number 5, air compressor accessory. Air compressors at Harbor Freight range from reasonable to decent, but employees unanimously agreed: don't buy the cheap accessories. Hoses, fittings, regulators. An employee bought a $9.99 air hose. It leaked at both connections from day one. He finally spent $25 on a proper hose elsewhere. 0 leaks. The difference was the rubber compound and fitting quality. Harbor Freight uses cheaper materials that can't achieve or maintain a proper seal. Leaking air accessories aren't just annoying. They waste compressor runtime, reduce tool performance, and cost money in wasted electricity. For it, one mechanic estimated he was running his compressor 40% more than necessary because of leaking Harbor Freight fitting, burning through electricity to replace air that was hissing out of bad connections. Buy the compressor at Harbor Freight if you want. Buy accessories from better brands. Item number 6, extension cords, lightweight models. This one can burn your house down. That's not hyperbole. An employee showed me a returned extension cord. The insulation hadn't burned. It had melted, softened from heat like warm candle wax. The customer had been running a circular saw on a 16-gauge 50-foot Harbor Freight cord in his garage. The cord got so hot it physically deformed. I tested this myself with an infrared thermometer. A Harbor Freight 16-gauge cord running a circular saw for 10 minutes, 127 degrees Fahrenheit surface temperature. 12-gauge contractor cord running the same saw for the same duration, 89 degrees Fahrenheit. That 38-degree difference, the line between a cord that works safely and a cord that starts a fire. The physics are straightforward but important to understand. Thin wire has higher electrical resistance. Resistance creates heat. A 16-gauge or 18-gauge cord pulling 10 to 15 amps from a power tool generates dangerous heat. A 12-gauge or 14-gauge cord handles the same load without breaking a sweat. The problem compounds viciously with distance. A 25-foot cord might handle a drill marginally. A 100-foot cord running the same drill creates serious voltage drop and heat buildup that can melt insulation. An electrician I interviewed explained the hidden danger. Every extension cord has an amp rating chart on the package. Harbor Freight's cheap cords often exceed those ratings when people use them with common power tools, and the ratings assume intermittent use in cool conditions. Real-world use, continuous operation in a hot garage in July, creates problems much faster than the ratings suggest. A former electrical contractor who's seen this play out on job site. I'd spot guys with those orange Harbor Freight cords running circular saws and miter saws. The cords were hot enough to burn your hand. I'd make them unplug immediately. That's not paranoia. That's a house fire waiting for the right combination of sawdust and an extension cord that's already at its thermal limit. Harbor Freight's contractor-grade cords are fine. The cheap ones are genuine fire hazards, and unlike a broken drill bit that costs you frustration, a failed extension cord can cost you everything in your garage, or worse. If you're finding these warnings valuable, hit subscribe. We're not done. Some of the most deceptive items are still coming. Item number 7, work gloves, below $5. They tear the first time you grab anything with an edge. The grip coating peels off within hours. The cheap mechanics gloves are so thick you lose all dexterity. An employee tried the $1.99 work gloves once. Ripped the first time I grabbed a 2x4 with a splinter. The glove failed at the exact moment it was supposed to protect me. Bad gloves are worse than no gloves. They give you false confidence. You grip harder because you think you're protected. When the glove tears, the force you're applying guarantees a worse injury than if you've been barehanded and cautious. Anything above $8 to $10 at Harbor Freight is acceptable. Below $5 is theater. Costume gloves that look like protection but deliver none. Item number 8, batteries. All types, Harbor Freight battery, alkaline, lithium, button cells, are universally condemned by employees. Not disliked, not considered mediocre, actively warned against. One employee bought a 24-pack of AA. Half were already weak out of the package. The rest died in his TV remote within a month. Another employee tested a pack with a multimeter at the register. 3 out of 12 read below nominal voltage before they'd even been opened. The problem is a combination of old stock, poor quality control, and storage in hot warehouses that degrade battery chemistry before you even open the package. Batteries are chemical devices. Heat accelerates the internal reactions that drain their charge. Harbor Freight's supply chain, shipping from over overseas manufacturers through hot container ships and sitting in unair-conditioned warehouses is hostile to battery longevity. A manager was candid about the return dynamic. We get battery returns constantly. People say they don't work. They're right, but by the time you drive back to return $3.99 worth of batteries, you've spent more in gas and time than they cost. Most people don't bother, which, honestly, is how the economics work for us. Buy batteries at Costco. Better performance, similar or lower cost per unit. No dead-on-arrival surprises. The Kirkland batteries consistently test near the top of independent performance rankings. Harbor Freight's consistently test near the bottom. Item number 9. Paintbrushes, except foam brushes. Harbor Freight paintbrushes shed bristles into your wet paint like a golden retriever in July. An employee bought the $1.99 brush set for a weekend project. I spent more time pulling bristles out of wet paint than actually painting. By the third wall, I drove to Home Depot and bought Purdy brushes. Should have done that first. The bristles are poorly secured. They fall out constantly. You'll have bristle marks permanently embedded in your finish. On a staining project, loose bristles are cosmetically devastating. Exception, the Bauer foam brushes are acceptable for staining. Everything with bristles is garbage. Item number 10, measuring tapes. A measuring tape that lies to you is worse than no measuring tape at all, and Harbor Freight's cheap tapes lie. I tested this personally. I bought 5 of Harbor Freight's cheapest Pittsburgh measuring tapes, all the same model, all from the same shelf. I measured a piece of aluminum stock I'd verified at exactly 24.000 inches with a digital caliper. The 5 tapes read 24 and 1/16 inch, 23 and 15/16 inch, 24 inches, 24 and 1/8 inch, and 23 and 7/8 inch. A 1/4 inch spread across 5 supposedly identical tapes measuring the same object. That's not a manufacturing tolerance. That's a quality control failure. A carpenter named Jeff told me what that means in practice. I bought a Harbor Freight tape because I forgot mine on a job site. Used it for a deck project. Every board came out slightly wrong. I thought I was losing my skills. Measured twice, cut that cut once, and it was still off. Checked it against my Stanley. The Harbor Freight tape was off by 3/32 of an inch over 10 feet. Every single cut I made that day was wrong. I had to redo boards, threw the tape in the trash. The compounding problem is insidious. A professional framer explained the math. If your tape is off by 1/16 inch and you make 20 cuts, you're accumulating error with every measurement. By the end of the project, nothing fits right. Joints gap, trim doesn't align, doors don't close. You blame your skills, you blame the lumber, but it was the tool lying to you the entire time. The blade also breaks easily. The locking mechanism fails. The spring loses tension and won't retract. An employee showed me the return bin behind the counter. It was overflowing with measuring tapes that had snapped blades, dead springs, and locks that wouldn't engage. The engineering difference matters more than people realize. Quality measuring tapes use spring-tempered steel that maintains its shape and rigidity when extended. The markings are laser etched or precision printed to tolerances of thousandths of an inch. Cheap tapes use softer steel that bends and sags, with painted markings that wear off with use and were imprecise to begin with. The price difference between a Harbor Freight tape and a Stanley FatMax is $5 to $10. The consequences of building with inaccurate measurements can cost hundreds in wasted materials and rework. Item number 11, safety glasses. Your eyes are irreplaceable. Harbor Freight's $2.99 safety glasses don't deserve to protect them. The lenses scratch within a week of regular use until you can barely see through them, which defeats the purpose of wearing them. The fit leaves gaps between frame and face that let debris fly in from the sides. Exactly the vectors that safety glasses are supposed to block. More concerning, an employee watched a coworker take metal shrapnel to his Harbor Freight safety glasses during a grinding operation. The lens cracked on impact. He was lucky it didn't penetrate. A 1/4 inch to the left and he's in the ER. After that incident, I started wearing 3M safety glasses that cost $12. $12 to protect my vision for the rest of my life seemed like a trade I was willing to make. The cheap glasses also fog constantly because the ventilation design is poor. Workers take them off because they can't see. Now they're completely unprotected. Bad safety equipment that's uncomfortable enough to remove is worse than no safety equipment at all because it creates the illusion that you were protected. 3M or Uvex, $10 to $15. This is not negotiable. Item number 12, socket sets, low-end models. A mechanic named Carlos used a cheap Harbor Freight socket on a lug nut. The socket slipped and rounded the nut head. What should have been a 5-minute tire rotation became a $50 problem requiring an extractor tool, a trip to the auto parts store, and 2 hours of frustration. The $12 socket set created a $50 problem. That math defines Harbor Freight's low-end socket sets. The issue is tolerances and metallurgy working against you simultaneously. Cheap sockets use soft steel with loose dimensional accuracy. A 13mm socket might actually measure 13.2mm internally. That 0.2mm gap sounds trivial. It isn't. It means the socket contacts only the corners of the bolt head instead of engaging all 6 flat faces. Under torque, those corners deform. The bolt rounds. You need an extractor. The simple job is now a nightmare that takes 10 times longer than the original task. I watched an employee literally demonstrate this in-store. Cheap Harbor Freight socket on a bolt in a vise. Visible slippage even with moderate torque. You could see the socket shift on the bolt head. Craftsman socket on the same bolt. Solid engagement, zero movement. Same bolt, same force applied. Completely different outcome. The demonstration was so clear it should be shown to every customer who reaches for the bottom shelf socket set. The ratchets fail too. Internal teeth strip under load. The mechanism skips when you're applying force. You're torquing a bolt, the ratchet suddenly gives way, and your knuckles slam into the engine block or the wheel well. An employee showed me a returned ratchet where the internal gear teeth had worn completely smooth after just a few months of light weekend use. The mechanism that's supposed to lock and hold was just spinning freely. A professional mechanic who works on cars every day? Socket sets are one area where you absolutely cannot go cheap. I use mine 8 hours a day. They take constant abuse. Harbor Freight's Quinn and Icon sets are legitimately good. Made in Taiwan to proper specs with chrome vanadium steel. But anything under $30 for a complete set is a trap. You'll round bolts, buy extractors, skin your knuckles, and eventually buy a real set anyway. Skip the learning tax and buy decent sockets from the start. The long-term math makes it obvious. A cheap socket set, $15. Rounded bolts needing replacement, $3 to $5 each. Extractor set to remove rounded bolts, $20 to $40. One bad experience erases all savings and then some. A $60 Craftsman or Husky set lasts decades, never rounds bolts, and prevents the entire cascade of problems. Item number 13, clamps, spring clamps, and cheap bar clamps. A woodworker named Thomas was gluing a tabletop from $60 worth of walnut. He used Harbor Freight bar clamps because they were a third the price of Irwin clamps. 2 clamps slipped during the glue up. The joint failed. The board shifted before the glue set. The alignment was ruined. The wood was wasted. $60 in premium hardwood destroyed by $10 worth of clamps. Couldn't do the one thing clamps are supposed to do. Hold. Spring clamps lose tension after just a few uses. The metal fatigues and the jaws won't close with enough force to grip anything meaningful. Bar clamps slip under load because the clutch mechanism doesn't engage firmly. C-clamps strip their adjustment threads because the steel is too soft. Employees confirmed what the return bin already shows. Clamp returns are constant. People say they won't hold pressure. They're absolutely right. We see it every week. For any glue up, assembly, or welding project where slippage causes material damage, buy Irwin Quick Grips or Bessie clamps. They cost 2 to 3 times more upfront. They also actually work, which for a clamping device seems like a minimum requirement. Item number 14, shop towels. Harbor Freight shop towels. Big roll, $8.99. Looks like a deal until you try to wipe something with them. They disintegrate when wet. They leave lint on every surface. They turn to mush the moment they contact oil or water. An employee's review was succinct. They're worse than regular paper towels. At least paper towels absorb something before falling apart. Scott shop towels from Home Depot cost $12.99 and actually function. They stay intact when wet, absorb oil, and leave surfaces clean. The Harbor Freight version saves $4 and delivers nothing. Item number 15, sandpaper, bulk packs. Harbor Freight bulk sandpaper clogs on the first pass. The grit separates from the backing. The paper itself tears under moderate pressure. It's sandpaper that can't sand. An employee who refinishes furniture on weekends tested their variety pack on an oak dresser. Clogged immediately. The grit loaded up with dust on the first pass and stopped cutting. I was changing paper every few minutes. Went through the entire pack on one piece of furniture. A 3M pack, half the size, would have done the whole dresser and the matching nightstands. The grit adhesion is the core failure. The bonding agent that holds abrasive particles to the backing is cheap and weak. Under the heat and friction of actual sanding, the grit detaches. The anti-clogging coating, the zinc stearate layer that's supposed to prevent dust buildup, either doesn't exist or doesn't function. A woodworker calculated the real cost, and the numbers are damning. Harbor Freight sandpaper is 50 cents per sheet. 3M is 20 cents per sheet. Sounds like Harbor Freight wins by a mile, but I need 4 Harbor Freight sheets to do what one 3M sheet accomplishes. I'm spending $2 versus $1.20 for the same result. The cheap sandpaper is literally 67% more expensive when you measure by work accomplished instead of sheets purchased. Exception: Bauer sandpaper for power sanders is acceptable. The adhesive backing holds and the grit stays put under orbital sander vibration. The hand sanding bulk packs are where the quality falls apart completely. The pattern, where Harbor Freight fails. And why these 15 items aren't random. They fall into 4 categories that reveal exactly where Harbor Freight's aggressive cost-cutting model breaks down. And understanding the pattern is more valuable than memorizing the list, because it lets you evaluate any product in the store. Safety equipment, jack stands, safety glasses, extension cords, work gloves. These are items where failure doesn't mean inconvenience. It means injury, hospital bills, lost work, permanent damage, Dave's cracked ribs and collapsed lung, the employee's coworker who nearly lost an eye, the garage that could have burned. Harbor Freight's business model is built on driving manufacturing costs as low as physically possible. That philosophy works when a tool breaks and you're merely annoyed. It fails catastrophically when a jack stand collapses and you're pinned under 2 tons of metal. Precision tools, measuring tapes, drill bits, socket sets. These need to work accurately every single time. When you're manufacturing millions of units at rock-bottom prices across overseas factories, tolerances drift. Quality control becomes statistical rather than absolute. A measuring tape that's off by 1/16 inch sounds minor until it compounds across 20 cuts and ruins an entire project. A socket that's 0.2 millimeters too large sounds trivial until it rounds a bolt head and turns a 5-minute job into a 2-hour ordeal. Consumables, sandpaper, batteries, shop towels, paintbrushes. You burn through the cheap versions so fast that the per-use cost is actually higher than quality alternatives. This is the most counterintuitive category. Harbor Freight's price per unit advantage is an illusion when you need 4 units to accomplish what one quality unit does. The woodworker spending $2 in Harbor Freight sandpaper to match what $1.20 in 3M sandpaper accomplishes isn't saving money. He's overpaying by 67% and doing more work. Critical fastening, clamps, socket sets, tools that must hold under pressure at the exact moment when failure causes the most damage. Thomas's $60 walnut tabletop, Carlos's rounded lug nut. Harbor Freight's loose tolerances and soft materials mean these tools fail precisely when the stakes are highest. Under load, mid-project, with expensive materials on the line. The employee's shopping strategy. I asked every employee the same closing question: what do you buy at Harbor Freight? The answers were remarkably consistent, and they paint a picture of a store that's genuinely excellent in specific categories and genuinely terrible in others, with almost nothing in between. One employee's 3-tier framework. I divide the store into 3 tiers: top tier, Icon, and Hercules. These genuinely compete with DeWalt and Milwaukee at significantly lower prices. Middle tier, Pittsburgh Pro, Bauer, Quinn, good enough for most people, and they come with lifetime warranties that transform mediocre quality into solid value. Bottom tier, Warrior, Drillmaster, and everything else at the lowest price points. I avoid bottom tier completely. It's not worth the frustration. Another employee's categorical rule: if it protects my body, I buy it elsewhere. If it needs to be precise, I buy it elsewhere. If I'll use it up, I buy it elsewhere. Everything else, power tools, hand tools with warranty, specialty equipment I'll use once or twice a year. Harbor Freight is legitimately unbeatable. The warranty strategy is genuinely smart and underappreciated. Harbor Freight's lifetime warranty on Pittsburgh Pro hand tools is real and hassle-free. Wrench breaks? Walk in with the pieces. Walk out with a new one. No receipt needed, no questions asked. That warranty transforms a $15 wrench that might break in 2 years into a wrench you'll effectively own forever for one payment. It's the best deal in the store. The specialty tool angle is where Harbor Freight truly shines and where no competitor can touch them. An engine hoist, $200 at Harbor Freight, $400 at auto parts stores. A bearing puller, $15 versus $40. A hydraulic press, $150 versus $350. A brake bleeder kit, $25 versus $60. For tools you use twice a year, Harbor Freight's price advantage is enormous, and the quality is perfectly adequate for occasional use. Their earthquake impact wrenches are legendary among mechanics. Some professionals use them daily. Their Hercules power tools compete with Milwaukee at lower prices. Their Icon torque wrenches test within spec alongside Snap-on at a fraction of the cost. The store has genuinely excellent products. They just sit on shelves next to genuinely dangerous ones, and nothing in the store tells you which is which. That's what this list is for. The bottom line. These aren't random opinions from internet strangers. These are warnings from people who process the returns, witness the failures, and know exactly which products create problems and which ones create danger. The action plan is simple. Never compromise on safety. Jack stands, safety glasses, extension cords, work gloves. Buy better versions elsewhere. The $10 to $20 you save is meaningless compared to what failure costs. Avoid low-end precision tools. Measuring tapes, drill bits, socket sets, buy Harbor Freight's mid-tier options or shop elsewhere. The cheap versions create problems that cost more to fix than the tools themselves. Skip consumables, batteries, sandpaper, shop towels, paintbrushes. The math doesn't work. You use more, spend more, and get worse results. Embrace the warranty. Pittsburgh Pro hand tools with lifetime warranty are legitimate values. Break them, replace them free. This single policy makes Harbor Freight's mid-tier hand tools competitive with anyone. Buy specialty tools confidently. Engine hoists, bearing pullers, hydraulic presses. Harbor Freight's prices for occasional use specialty tools are unbeatable, and the quality is adequate for infrequent use. Consider mid-tier power tools seriously. Bauer, Hercules, and Icon compete with major brands at lower prices. Not premium, but genuinely good for most users. The sophisticated Harbor Freight shopper doesn't avoid the store. They navigate it strategically, knowing that cheap sometimes means incredible value and sometimes means dangerous garbage. And they've learned to tell the difference. A 10-year employee offered the final word. Harbor Freight is a tool. Use it right, and it saves you thousands over a lifetime. Use it wrong, and you waste money on junk. Or you end up like the guys I've seen come back with injuries. The difference is knowing which products are worth it. Now you know. If this saved you from a bad purchase, or potentially from injury, hit subscribe. We're doing insider investigations and real-world testing, so you always know what's actually worth buying. I'll see you in the next one.